Anyways, I have some sad news, everybody. As
Oh
you
no.
guys know, there's a trade super sexy topic, by the way. There is a trade war in the horizon. As you guys know, there's a 25% tax tariff being imposed in all goods from Mexico, and then Mexico said they would do the same. So we have to now say that this podcast is actually, this entire time we lied to you guys, we live in the Cayman Islands. This show is from neither of those two
You just
places.
exposed our offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, Emilio. All of the Kofi money we're not getting, all those bank
Yeah,
accounts we
but
have
I
now,
saved
now they're
you
exposed.
guys 25% because if we stayed in, if we kept telling people we were in those two countries, we would have to impose a 25% tax.
Oh
So-
no, I'm not gonna lie. I thought when you said trade issue, I thought you were talking like Pokemon card scam or something again.
You guys are welcome. You guys are welcome. Keep donating to our Ko-fi. If we changed it, if we had stayed, you guys, for every dollar, you would have to donate 25 cents extra. So if you
You
donated
guys are helping keep this show
$0,
going.
so right now on Ko-fi we have $0, we would have had to pay $0 in tax. Hey, I'm Emilio.
Hey, I'm Ryan.
And welcome to the Terminally Online Pen Pals podcast.
We're two friends that have only ever met through the internet.
Join us as we talk about our lives in this epic show.
And the show starts now.
Anyways, guys, welcome back to the Terminally Online Pen Pals podcast. I know.
Oh no, Emilio, you forgot to do the thing. Podcast.
I'm mixing it up because it was
Ooh.
Spotify Wrapped week. How did you do
Yes,
on
you did.
Spotify Wrapped?
Pretty good, actually. In past years that we've tried to do the Spotify Wrapped, and yes, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Great to be back doing it once again. This time we're going to be going a little bit into our Spotify Wrapped. We've tried to do this in past shows before, and I've never really had any actual data to talk about because I've never, up to a certain point, I never really looked into doing a Spotify Wrapped. But this year I was curious because I've been listening to a lot more music and some podcasts and whatnot on Spotify. My wrap this year actually consisted pretty much how I expected, especially in terms of the music department for like my top 5 most listened to artists. This year on Spotify, I had approximately, I'm trying to remember how many minutes were large. I think over 60,000 minutes I've listened to Spotify this year so far, which is quite a bit because I use it for like a main source of music, podcasting, etc. My top 5 bands this year in terms of my Wrapped are a lot of artists that I typically like to listen to. The top one this year was Daughtry for number 1, pretty popular band that I really enjoy. Second one this year was Theory of a Dead Man. Once again, another awesome band for those of you who've never heard them. The third one was Lifehouse. It's a band I've been listening to ever since I was in grade school or like middle school. So that was a pretty big one for me. Fourth one, I'm trying to remember offhandedly. I think Panic at the Disco was my fourth one. And then fifth was Shinedown, which is a band I've just started listening to thanks to a family member of mine. So those are like my top 5 artists this year for my music wrap. A lot of like rock and roll or like melodic or jazzy music kind of here. They're mainly rock and roll for this year. In terms of podcasts, which was actually kind of surprising to me, I've listened to a lot of different podcasts. Not really a ton of watch time associated with them because they're mainly just podcasts I've kind of dipped in and out of watching because I'm putting all the views on our Spotify list. So the Terminally Online Pen Pals podcast was my first podcast this year, which it actually wasn't. I typically don't listen to the show now. I typically don't listen to the show or watch it after we record because I already know what the content of the freaking episode is. So... But when it comes down to it, though, the podcasts I've typically listened to this year are kind of varied. There's been a few sports podcasts I've listened to. There was a true crime podcast I listened to a little bit. My buddy Goose podcast I've listened to a bit as well, was also in the top brackets. Trash Talk, shockingly enough, was up in there as well a bit throughout the year because I was listening back to past episodes to kind of cross compare between what we've been doing here on this podcast. So nothing really too special in the podcasting department, mainly been music. That's just kind of what my Wrapped has looked like for this year, though. What about you, Emilio? Have you had a lot of diverse Wrapped picks?
Well, if you guys follow me on Instagram and Twitter, which you should, at the beginning of the year, I said I would do something. Okay, it runs back. I said I would do something quite epic. I thought it'd be pretty funny if I astroturfed Pitbull to be my number one artist.
Man, I thought you were going to say making good content.
No, I don't. I already do that. You should try that though. And so yeah, I got Pitbull as my number one. It was so
I saw that on your Instagram
fucking
story.
annoying. Because all right, so I only listened to Pitbull when I would go on a run, go to the gym, and at one point I got scared because I checked Receptify at the middle of the year, and my number one according to Receptify was Childish Gambino. So I got scared. I was like, and Kendrick Lamar was number two, and Pitbull was, I think he wasn't even in the top 5. So I got scared, and I was like, holy crap, all my freaking labor is not working out. What do I do? Anyways.
Oh my gosh, Emilio.
So as you guys know, I took a big trip this year, a long trip. And a flight, I only played Pitbull. It was just 12 hours straight of Pitbull.
Just to make sure it was like number one Spotify.
Yeah, I was not going to risk it.
I gotta be honest. I mean, you're dedicated.
I started playing it whilst I was driving. And then when November, ended, that's when they stopped counting for Spotify Wrapped. I felt such a relief just listening to the music that I actually like, listening to a podcast. I mean, I still listen to podcasts, but I was just so sick of Pitbull. I mean, it was so funny at the beginning, but at the end, I was like, I can't do this anymore. But I told a bunch of people about this dumb bit, and at the end, I did get Pitbull to be my number one, and it was funny. And I guess you can sort of say, like, if you look at the list of from 2 to 5, I guess you can kind of get the idea of who were my top artists when I wasn't listening to Pitbull. So Young Miko, Latin Mafia, Bad Bunny, and Loda, which is interesting because there's no, like, I think this is the first time that my Wrapped is just Spanish-speaking artists. And I think Latin Mafia is the first time I have a Mexican artist on my top 5, which is kind of cool. I think I've had Loda in previous years. But yeah, that's what I did. Podcast. My number one podcast was Head in the Office, which is a news podcast. That's pretty cool. Some guys from Michigan.
Michigan works.
Then I also had Spitball, which is another podcast. That one isn't news, it's just like discussion. Another American podcast. I think they're from California because Arasha from Smoshes hosts that show. And a bunch of Formula One podcasts. So yeah.
Interesting. Good podcast choices. But my question is, was the Boss Cast in your top 5 this year for your Spotify Wrapped? I knew this friendship wasn't meant to last after a while. You're supposed to support your friends' social media accounts, and here I find out Emilio probably hasn't watched a single one of those episodes.
No,
he was in one.
I listened to the one I'm in. It's a good episode. Oh, okay. You guys should check that one out.
Yeah, it's definitely like one of the lower tier episodes, but it is watchable. I'll give you that. I think people just saw the title and were turned away.
No, relax. This is the best episode. Anyways, let's talk about. So I wasn't gonna give this too much importance because this is a newer podcast, and as of when the Spotify Wrapped dropped, we only had 12 episodes uploaded. So we weren't gonna get big data. I mean, honestly, our Wrapped for the podcast was very disappointing. I already saw it, and it was so lame.
I mean,
I'm so glad I can't share my screen on Instagram because
we can't show negative numbers, guys.
It was so lame because so basically the only country where people listen to the show is the United States.
Pretty much.
And most of the people that listen to this podcast, like it gives you a sort of a statistic of what other shows the people that listen to your shows also listen to. And it was Trash Talk, so the show we used to have. And the
like old viewers, I guess. So basically, people who've been following us are the ones who've been listening to this show, not really any new people, is kind of what I'm gathering from that. At least you guys are checking out good content.
Yeah, sure.
It's different because with numbers, Amelia and I have talked behind the scenes about this. Spotify doesn't really get a ton of attention, but
it's grown a bit. It's grown a bit. You know, I think
it has. Yeah, it has grown, but what the podcast, the way that we've structured Top Pod, because with like the shorts content and all the social medias that it's on, it's mainly garnered a lot of attention. Like on YouTube, it's picked up a good bit of traction.
Our last episode got 5 views, but yeah, sure.
But yeah, it's picked up some good traction though, all in all though, for the most part. And then like other socials and whatnot, the podcast has grown. But we got to keep in mind though, we also didn't upload for 3 weeks though when that episode came out, so that probably didn't help.
For the time being, Ryan, what was up with your week? Basically, the highlight of my week was Spotify Wrapped. It was a pretty slow week. What did you do this week? It's time for you to save the podcast. For once in your life, do something for the show. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I guess outside of my presence in being here, planning episodes, bringing on a guest a few episodes back, this is my first real chance to contribute to this podcast, So, guys, let's just jump straight into the weeds here for the most important recap possible. I went to work. No, there's actual stuff that happened. This week, not really a ton happened, but there were a few cool events, specifically tonight at the time that we're actually recording this one. So as you guys know, again, full-time retail job, not retail job, full-time teaching job. I've been working throughout the week. Not really no house update this week. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, that's pretty cool, Ryan. Ryan midweek actually told me that he had a very interesting topic for this episode.
I do.
Unfortunately, we're around the 20-minute mark, so it's time to tell you guys to... No, I'm just kidding.
So basically, whatever clickbait title we came up with for this week, it's just purely a lie.
This time, our clickbait title is a lie. But if you guys want to hear Ryan's epic anecdote, come over next week.
Donate to the Ko-fi and find out what it is.
Anyways,
it's going to be random. It could be pretty boring, but donate.
Ryan claims he interviewed a celebrity.
The proof is actually on... Okay, I'll provide some context here. I have actually interviewed a real celebrity as well, and it was on my Bosscast podcast, where the episode is up right now for you to go and view it. I know because Emilio has never watched any of that content, so I know he knows nothing about this.
But you guys listening apparently have, so according to Spotify Wrapped.
Yep, apparently so. So some of you guys are probably familiar with this episode already. For those of you who don't know, which is probably some of you, I was able to interview the head of a very big and popular gaming company known as WayForward.
Oh, you told me this.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this to you before, and I've never really told you the story behind it, and I've never talked about it on YouTube or anything else. He is actually a celebrity. So for those of you who don't know, WayForward is a pretty popular indie game company. It's one of the largest around nowadays. They've been in operation since the...
Okay, hold on. This is about... She's tangled up to the headphone cable, and she won't let me, move her. This is all gonna end quite poorly, everybody. So Ryan, tell your story. I'm gonna try and move the least amount possible. Sorry for interrupting, but
while Emilio unbooby traps his dog, I'll get into the context of the story here because it's actually a pretty cool one. So again, for those of you who don't know, Way Forward is the name of a very popular indie game company. It's one of the largest around nowadays. They've been in operation since the mid 2000s, and they specialize in releasing a lot of games that you guys might be familiar with, like Shantae, River City Girls, and there's a lot of ports of very popular games they've worked on with other companies. They've worked and done software with Disney, Nintendo, Marvel. They've done a lot of licensing deals and a lot of programming deals with them, as I talked about in the episode with Voldy. Voldy Way being the name of the guy who founded the company, one of the head developers, and someone who is extremely big in the gaming industry, and someone who's very well known. Now, all that being said, though, you're probably wondering, if this guy is so big, a part of a head of a company, how was I, some random guy with a random-ass podcast, able to possibly get an interview with him? Well, I've been a fan of Way Forward for a long time, and I've seen in the past where Voldy has actually done interviews with people, not too often, but some people in the community, if you know the right contacts to reach out with. The first time I ever got in contact with Voldy, or a representative of his company more so, was through Patrick Barrett, actually, who's an old YouTuber friend of mine. He's also the only YouTuber I've ever actually met in person, but I'll save that for another time. But through Patrick, I was able to actually make contact with a representative of Way Forward, because Patrick had previously done an interview with Voldy. And I remember one night while I was at Dollar General at my old retail job, I got the idea to try and bring him on the Bosscast, because I was starting to do more episodes at that time. So I reached out to Patrick through messaging.
Bosscast, you would have loved.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Bosscast. I think the last episode on there was bad games that I don't recommend, so that should be a really epic episode for you guys to check out. But
apparently, you guys already have checked it out.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently, a lot of you guys have already looked at it. But I got in contact with Patrick, and I asked him, I saw that you did this interview with Voldy a long time ago, like several months back, and I kind of want to see if I can bring him on, because I reached out and messaged a number of indie game companies like Yacht Club Games and a number of other companies that I enjoy, to see if I could possibly get an interview with some big people in the gaming industry. I, of course, didn't really get any good responses, but that's here and there. Patrick hooked me up, however, with a contact from Way Forward that he had an email with, and he sent me the email link, and I sent out a random message to them saying, hey, I like your show, here's my podcast, this is kind of what it's all about. I'd like to see if I could get an interview with Voldy, or at least talk with a representative of Way Forward. And over the next several weeks, I actually got in contact with the guy, and we exchanged information and conversation back and forth to arrange an interview with me and Voldy, because he's a busy guy, he runs a big company. So obviously he's not going to be able to drop everything to do the Bosscast.
I'm happy to report that I'm booby-trapped the dog. Anyways, continue.
After a series of weeks where we were, again, exchanging information, I finally managed to get in contact with Voldy and arranged a time to actually interview him for the Bosscast. I was a little nervous going into it because I'm a big fan of the company. I've never spoken to somebody like on a larger, that's pretty popular on a larger scale, like a celebrity of sorts. And I went in prepared with a number of questions I wanted to ask him, like about the company, about games he's developed, his past history, and actually working with him. And when I got in contact with him, we had one hell of a good conversation out of that entire episode. I talked to him about all sorts of things about the gaming industry, his past as a developer and programmer, work they've done with Disney, Marvel, and a lot of other things I had no idea about the company. And it was crazy to me, the fact I was able to, thanks to Patrick, again, credit to him, but I was able to actually have this interview happen, to interview somebody on a larger scale in an industry that I love, like gaming, because you guys know I play games as a hobby, like I've mentioned here on the show. But it was a really good conversation. Voldy was so nice that he even at the end gave me a developer code, a code to actually get a game called The Mummy Demastered for free. Because I'd mentioned in the episode that I had never played the game before. And he enjoyed doing the interview with me so much. We talked for a little bit afterwards. And he's like, I really enjoyed your podcast. I like what you're doing here. And it was a huge compliment. I loved hearing that from him. He was an incredibly nice guy. I would absolutely talk with him again. And again, he didn't have to give me that code for the Mummy Demastered, but he did. And yeah, it was just a really cool experience all in all. It took a while to arrange, because if any of you guys are ever, I hope you're able to get interviews with people like this, if you guys are into the industry or you want to talk to somebody who's higher up. But it is a long process, and it's something that I didn't really fully expect. Obviously, you're not going to get to a group chat with somebody and say, hey, come on my show. I want to interview you. You're going to have to talk with representatives of the company, get the right contact information, and see if they're willing to do it. Because they checked out the Boss Cast to make sure that it was like good content, it wasn't vulgar, it's something that he would actually want to attribute like his presence to, which I don't blame them for, because they've got a brand to protect as well. And they liked what they saw enough to actually come on the podcast, because people really enjoyed the Boss Cast when I was doing it. But it was just a really cool experience. And Voldy, again, if you're ever listening to this by some chance, it was awesome to have you on, man. I hope you're doing well.
And are you guys still friends?
I don't know if we're best friends, but he's definitely a cool guy, though. And I recommend you guys go and support Way Forward. This isn't sponsored or anything, of course. We already have the Kofi sponsorship enough as is.
I mean, Kofi isn't the sponsor.
It may as well be our sponsor at this point.
We talk a lot about it, but no. Well, that's
true. We are promoting Kofi.
That's pretty cool, Ryan. I'm glad you got that opportunity.
Now, Emilio, what about, we've talked about like celebrities we might want to hang out with, friendly with, maybe guys that you respect their work, but you don't want to hang out with them. What about a celebrity that you have a secret crush on? Because everyone seems to have like a celebrity crush. I know I do, just to be open.
Who's your celebrity crush?
Well, I want to hear yours first. I asked you first.
The guy on the top pod who shaved his hair and then now he's growing it back. I really like it.
So you literally just put a mirror up in front of yourself and like, hell yeah, maybe.
No, I do have it changes, right? Like, my celebrity crush was Rachel Zegler after I watched the new Hunger Games movie. And I thought about watching Snow White, but after I saw Gal Gadot's gonna be in it, and I'm not gonna watch that. So,
you're not a Gal Gadot fan,
dude. I freaking hate her. I'm a Gal Gadot hater. Anyways, if there's a celebrity I would not like to meet, it's Gal Gadot.
There we go.
Anyways,
okay, now we have a solid answer from that.
Rachel Zegler was my celebrity crush for about a week. And,
was she in Suits?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, never mind. I'm thinking of a different actress then.
Maybe, I don't know. I've never watched Suits, maybe, but I think she's I've
seen some episodes.
I think she's kind of young to have been on Suits. I'll show you a picture. It's my
probably
phone background.
Maybe I'll recognize her.
Let me open Instagram. That's how I remember who my celebrity crush is, because it also changes quite often.
It's Amelia's background on his screen.
But yeah. It's Rachel Zegler, I think, would be my pick for celebrity crush.
Oh, okay. Good pick. Solid pick.
It's her. How do you not know who? She's gonna play Snow White in the reboot.
Oh yeah, okay. No, I've seen the promotional material for it. Yeah. Okay, I know who you're talking about now.
Remake. But yeah. So who's your celebrity crush?
Well,
is it also one of the hosts from the Top Pod?
No, I was gonna say yeah, but it's not the same one.
Yeah, we don't want to fight over them. We don't want to fight over them.
We don't want to start a fan war in the community, guys. Emilio already said his. Mine is the guy who shaved his head for 10 years on YouTube, the guy who went bald. I think he's probably like not the best host, but he's like the best looking host on the podcast. I think he looked pretty good when he was bald.
Are you saying I'm the funny one?
No, not the funny one. He's all looks, no brain. Or humor, or personality, or just anything else. The only thing he had was Ryan. The looks. No, Ryan has all that stuff though, except the hair. Ryan will never have the hair again. No, but no. If I had to actually, hell no, that's way too expensive, and I feel like that'd probably hurt quite a bit. No, everyone, my actual celebrity crush is an actress by the name of Danielle Panabaker. She has been...
Who's that?
She was on The Flash. She played Killer Frost. She was also in a Disney movie called Sky High, which is one of Disney's more popular movies from the early 2000s.
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, she's been in a number of works, some musicals, some movies, some
Sky
TV shows
High,
like the
absolute
CW.
freaking Kino.
She's
Yeah,
been
I know
my
her.
celebrity actress crush go-to. Yeah, that's her. Yep. She is not only a good actress in a lot of the work she's been in, but yes, I have found her to be the most attractive. She seems like a very nice person from her social media presence. She pushes a lot for mental health awareness and organizations such as that. And she overall seems like a nice person from, again, social media and the shows. And yes, I think she looks good. So she is my celebrity crush. If she is watching this, please do not send the restraining order. I am not a creep.
Yeah, that's sweet. I hope I never meet my celebrity crush because now there is evidence of this. But my celebrity crush
Unless you
changes
limit-
about every week, so
Mine's been the same for a while, to be honest.
that's called obsession. I think you should.
That
look
is
into
not obsession. That is simply observation.
If you're, what was your name? So Danielle Panabaker, if you're listening to this, you might want to reconsider the restraining order.
Amelia's just gonna tweet this like at Danielle Panabaker on
Yo,
Twitter.
this guy, he's kind of weird.
Dude, fuck you.
Anyways, here's a clip of how long it took me to remember what her name was. Hold on, guys. This bit's gonna be really funny, and it's gonna work in editing. I'm gonna edit
So
it
it's gonna
to be
suck.
funny.
And we'll fail.
It will be very funny.
This so far isn't very epic.
That was pretty epic. Anyways,
Damn,
guys.
12 hours? Holy shit.
Yeah. This is gonna be the longest episode ever. But that's pretty cool, Ryan, that you've had the same celebrity crush.
A few years. It's not
for
an
long.
obsession or anything like that.
I mean,
She's
to
just somebody
everybody
who I
that's
admire.
listening on Spotify, there's 20 Hannah Panabaker posters behind Ryan, but
Not a one. I'm not that obsessed. Or at all.
but yeah, Sky High, that's freaking absolute Kino, man. Anyways,
It's actually a good movie.
that's pretty cool. You know what? If you have a celebrity crush, you guys should tell us in the comments. And whilst
Yes,
you're
you should.
already down there, why don't you just subscribe and like this video? Like, your hands are already on the keyboard. You might as well, as you're typing it down, like your celebrity crush, you know, whether it be Danny DeVito, you know, I'm not here to
It's a good
judge.
answer.
I'm not here to judge. Danny DeVito, another celebrity I would like to have dinner with. I don't
Or
think
Charlie Sheen if you're a crack addict.
I don't like to shame over addictions, but
No,
yeah, I would not like
not
to be
shaming,
friends
but,
with Charlie
I
Sheen.
mean, it's kind of accurate with Charlie Sheen, though.
Anyways, Ryan, shut up. People were about to like and subscribe, and you distracted them.
No, but they're typing that comment, though, that they like Charlie Sheen now.
Oh, okay. Also, you can follow us on all our social medias. The handle is at TOPP.POD. That's at top.pod. So epic.
And thank you guys for checking out this episode of the Terminally Online Pen Pals podcast. We will have more epic content for you guys next week, and probably new celebrity crushes to unveil for the episode when I unveil that I indeed do have a crush on the Top Pod podcast guys. Both of them.
Goodbye. Doggo, say goodbye.
Take
Peace
care,
out,
everyone.
bitches.